President Cyril Ramaphosa has cancelled his working visit to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, amid ongoing energy crisis in South Africa. This has been confirmed by the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya. Magwenya made the announcement via social media this afternoon. According to Magwenya, the decision is in line with the president's commitment to addressing the ongoing energy crisis. Ramaphosa was due to attend the annual WEF meeting, where he was expected to promote South Africa as an investment destination of choice. Magwenya says Ramaphosa has instead convened a meeting with leaders of political parties represented in Parliament, the National Energy Crisis Committee and the Eskom board. Political analyst Dr. McKinley joins us now to share his views about these developments. Dr. McKinley, a very good evening to you. Thank you very much for speaking to us. One might ask the question, was this expected, and what do you make of this decision? The statement put out by the presidential spokesperson that this is amid the energy crisis in South Africa.
Well, it's the right call. The president has no business going overseas and trying to sell South Africa as an investment decision when one of the crucial ingredients for any investment decision, energy, is in crisis. So it's the right call. The question, of course, is what is this meeting with political parties and the Eskom board? What is it going to come up with? I mean, we've heard lots of different promises over the last many months since the stage 6 sort of became a fact of life for all of us here in South Africa. I think many people are wondering what is really going to be done other than what is already on the cards. So I think the real question for the president is, does he have any new ideas? Are there other people he's going to bring on board? Who is he going to appoint as the new Eskom CEO? Is he going to listen to a lot of other ideas, potential alternative ideas outside of his own party and outside of his own circle and cabinet? And these are the kinds of questions that South Africans want to know. So, yes, it's a good thing that the president has decided to stay home, but he now needs to tell us exactly what the plan is.
And that's the interesting part of it, as you say, Dr. McKinley, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because he's been criticized before for leaving the country under such circumstances. But as one Twitter user replied to Mr. Magwenya's statement that what difference is it going to make? And these are the questions that you're also raising. Can he make a difference by staying behind and not going to Davos?
Yes, one would, if he didn't, then I think many of us would say, well, I mean, we have a president who seemingly just treats the energy crisis as a secondary thing. And it's more important for him to go and hobnob with all the wealthy people and all the other leaders and talk about all sorts of promises about what South Africa is going to be in the future. We are in a crisis now, and the president must show leadership. He just got reelected at the ANC Congress as the leader. He's promised leadership, and now he has to show it. I think much of the frustration of many South Africans with President Ramaphosa is the feeling that he has not acted. He has not acted strongly. He has not acted fast. He has not acted with urgency. And if there's a time now that he needs to grasp that nettle, where he needs to really bite the bullet, this is it. So he's up, he's on the stage, and I think we're all, it's not waiting, but I think we're all very much expecting something to take place rather than what we just heard in the past.
And, it was just interesting to see a statement saying that the latest energy crisis is obviously not only driving the economy to the ground, but rising unemployment, but also impacting on the mental health of the populace of South Africa. Speaking as somebody who hasn't had electricity all day today, it's also very frustrating. But you've had energy experts who said the problem is not the national energy plan or some of the policies that have been put in place, it's the implementation. So, as you say, the leadership of President Ramaphosa being called into question himself, some saying is he a sitting duck. But I also want to refer to some statement made by the former statistician general, Dr. Badi Luhohla. He was saying, I don't understand Ramaphosa's load shedding apology. He says there's been a trend of making state entities fail, setting them up for privatization. When it comes to President Ramaphosa's stewardship, would you characterize it as this?
Well, I certainly, personally, I'm a critic of wholesale privatization. I think that if public entities are run properly, if managed properly, can deliver what they have. And one of our problems has not been whether it's been privatization or public entities. It's been the managerial aspect and the capacity. And the problem is that the ANC as a party, and President Ramaphosa as the leader of that party has to take responsibility, has simply run Eskom down. Yes, there are other structural problems. Yes, there are things that people can point to, but fundamentally, this is a created crisis. This is something that was avoidable. We can go back and we can look at all the different reasons 20 years ago why this started and why we are in this position we are in. But here we are. And so the question, when we in our democracy, when we elect leaders, and they say this is our plan and this is what we're going to do, and it's not good enough, we expect them to basically come up with other plans and to bring others on board. And I think that's the real challenge that President Ramaphosa faces. He must go outside the ANC, he must go outside his cabinet, he must bring in the necessary expertise. It doesn't matter if they're loyal ANC members or not. If they're loyal South Africans, if they're people that want to see Eskom succeed, that's what counts. If they have the expertise, that's what counts. If they're honest and not corrupt, that's what counts. And I think that's what our citizenry wants to see.
You talk about loyal citizens. We've heard from Eskom about incidents of wanton and deliberate sabotage. You mentioned earlier on the meeting with members of parliament or political parties, with members of parliament and the National Energy Crisis Committee. The choice of a new leader for Eskom via CEO, but I still wonder, because some of these factors, there have been changes that haven't really brought about much change themselves. Dr. Lehohla pointing out that President Ramaphosa was himself in the war room at the beginning of part of this crisis. So I'm just wondering, as I say, what needs to give? Because there was a great deal of excitement with the new board. There were calls for Andre Dureto to leave. Now people are saying, well, it was actually better under Andre Dureto. At least we had 4 hours of electricity. That celebration of mediocrity for me is very, very troubling.
Absolutely. I think, our lowered expectations, we are becoming used to. Before it was, stage 2 blackouts and we were outraged. And then it was stage 4. And now it's stage 6 and possibly going to stage 8, who knows? And this becomes the norm. And I think it's not just about Eskom. It's about a governance model. And this is where it's not just about President Ramaphosa. It's about the party that has been in power. The ANC, unfortunately, has adopted an attitude towards basic service delivery, not just in terms of energy, but in terms of water, in terms of the whole and transport infrastructure. We've got a huge crisis brewing with Transnet and ports and our infrastructure here, where these have not been prioritized as developmentally, as political priorities, as developmental priorities. And that is the problem. When you don't prioritize them and you don't seek solutions immediately and you don't maintain if you have a house and part of your house is on fire, you don't go build another room on your house. You put the fire out and then you try to find ways to repair that room and what's the damage that has been done before you then go and do other things. And this is the problem. And I think that's why we're so frustrated.
Dale, I want to ask this because you're saying, you have to put out a fire before you build another room. And I'm wondering, is this what we're doing with our just energy transition? We've seen the deals that we've come to with other industrialized nations where we are failing to get off the ground, the level of industrialization we want in this. And a lot of that is going to be dependent on fossil fuels. But yet we are shutting down plants that could still produce hundreds or thousands of megawatts of power. So are we building another house while the fire is going?
Well, I don't think that in this case, I think renewable, it's not an either or situation. I think we should do both of those things. And it's not about building another house. It's about bringing the tools necessary to ensure that once you put that fire out, that basically you can then grow that room essentially, or you can repair it properly. And renewables are part of that and only one part of it. It's not the answer. If we have to, and listen, I think we all, those of us who talk about a just transition, those of us who know that we need to move away from fossil fuels, but the reality is that we're in this situation right now, and people need energy. We need energy for jobs. We need energy for business. We need energy for transport, and all on and on. We can list all of the reasons. The farmers just the other day said it's impacting on food production. And when that begins to happen, we should really be starting to be concerned. So let's concentrate on at least stabilizing the situation. Stabilize that, get the people in there and you make the plan. And then you begin to say, here's the 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, 10-year plan. You don't start, here's our 10-year plan, when you've got Kusile who's operating on 1/3 of capacity. That is not a prioritization. That's not a plan. That's crisis management of the worst kind.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and insights. Much appreciated as always. Dr. Dale McKinley is a political economist.